All right, now, I already showed you how I created all of these liquidy type of effects with displacement maps in the last tutorial. So I'm just going to show you what it looks like when I use them with alpha mats and then go into a more in-depth drawing. Now remember, whenever you want to do an alpha mat, the shape you want as sort of like what's masking out what's behind it, you put above. Remember the saying, you put a mask on top of your face. So I've got the text, which will be the shape I want, on top of my CC plastic shape layer. On CC plastic shape layer, let me zoom in so you can see it's a little more easily. All right, track mat, I choose alpha mat, and then the text that's above it. Now if you're not seeing your track mats, you go to your switches and modes, which is right down here, and you can click on it. See, those are my switches: 3D, motion blur for the layers, collapse and transform, shy. That's where you get to there. Click it again. Now I'm at my blending modes, which is where you change your track mat. So now you see the text shape is masking out the effect beneath it. And that's how it looks when it's animated down using our displacement map, the grayscale fractal noise that we created before. So that's what it looks like with plastic, so I'm going to turn that off. Here is the CC glass. Now remember, I've got my text above it. I just go to my layer, the CC glass layer, choose alpha map because you want the mask above it, and that's the text above it. Cutting it out, and you can see how, again, the mask is animating, the displacement map is animating the effect for us. So that's the CC glass look. And last but not least, we've got Blobalize. So I'm going to click the Blobalize layer, choose alpha mat with the text above it. And whatever you see the black gaps here, that would be alpha. I'm just going to click this button right here to reveal the alpha right there. See? As with the other one above it. That is using the fractal noise as a displacement map on these various effects. Now for something more in depth, like I was saying with the blood running down the wall to reveal some of the credits, let me turn this back off. And this is the fractal again. Like I said, I don't want that on. Here is the basic animation. The blood lines are dripping down. I have them scattered out. You would scatter them out more for more of a unique look. And it reveals the type beneath it. So how I'd done that was I pre-composed everything together when I was done. I split out the title into individual letters. And each one has its own alpha mat like shape revealing it. And this is where I put turbulent displace to get that wavy type of look. And that's why when you zoom in, you see it's not a straight line. It's got more of a liquid look to it. So that's what's revealing the letters. Now for the lines, they were created with a solid layer. A shape layer, sorry. No, it was a solid layer, yeah. So I drew the solid layer, and with the solid selected, I grabbed my pen tool and drew a line up and down the screen and added the stroke effect. That's effect stroke. We did this with water. I just changed the color to red. I animated the start and the stop so that it goes off and on the screen. That's how it draws itself on and then off, by animating the start and the stop. The displacement map is pointing to the fractal that we made. And those are the settings I had chosen. Let me just zoom in so you can see it's a little bit better. So like I said, for the stroke effect on the line I just drew, there's the size, the hardness. This is where I animated the off and the on. I think I did the end first to draw it on and then the start to draw it off. You'll play around with that on your own. See it works for you. So like I said, this is where I got my displacement map. These are the settings I gave for it. Then the turbulent displace This is what I'd chosen for it. And then the CC glass look. This is where I used my fractal displacement map as well. Right there, I chose it there. And you could change all your softness settings, your lighting, and your shading. That's how I created the red liquid type of look. So those are the lines coming down. And each letter, I had an individual mask to draw them in because since I stagger the animation, let me show you that one more time. So we're at lines reveal. These are staggered out. They're not coming down at the same time, which just adds some visual interest. That's why I had to do each letter individually. If you've had one shape all coming down at once, you could get away with one mask revealing everything. So that is an example of using alpha mats and the displacement maps together to create something more stylistic. I'm going to render this real fast so you can see what it looks like. Okay, so as you can see in this render, I'm going to pause it right here. You're getting a lot of duplication because I created the one line and duplicated and spread it out. If you want to avoid this, you could always create several displacement maps, just altering the original one slightly, and you'll get different results. You won't have to worry about that happening. But I was just pointing that out as a way of, avoiding this happening. But you see how they're all staggered out. They're coming down at different times, and they're exiting at different times. That was just done by stepping them out in the timeline. As you can see here, they're all coming in at different times. I'm pressing the U key to show my keyframes. You can see how they're all spread out. These are my draw-ons. I used the end to draw them on, and I used start to draw them off. So that's my keyframe. You can see how it's spread out. That's staggered out. I even moved the lines down across the screen. They're all falling at the same rate. I just slid the lines back and forth. Oops, let me hit undo. I'd pick an individual layer and slide it back and forth into the timeline to get it to where I wanted it. And that's just an example of using a more in-depth reveal for letters and credit sequences.